African American Legends highlights the accomplishments of blacks in areas as varied as politics, sports, aviation, education, and business. We will explore how African Americans have succeeded in areas where they had been previously excluded because of segregation, racism, and lack of opportunity. I am your host, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown, Jr., and joining me on today's program is Mrs. Loida Nicholas Lewis, the CEO and the chairman of TLC Beatrice International Corporation. Welcome to African American Legends.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Roscoe.
Loida Lewis, you and Reginald Lewis, the late Reginald Lewis, are really heroes and legends in the African American community because of what you and Reggie have done in the business area. Now, TLC Beatrice International is like $1 billion corporation and does business in Europe primarily. But the fact that Reginald Lewis and you were able to pull this off is one of the great miracles of American business. So could you tell us a little about this miracle, and then we'll talk about the book that Reggie has written and that you are helping to promote.
Yes. First of all, thank you for your introduction, but I have to put things in perspective. Mr. Lewis did the $1 billion leverage buyout all on his own. I was just, a listener, his wife, a corporate wife, being very supportive. But the genius of creating a $1 billion company is pure Reginald Lewis. And that's part of the reason why I want his book to be read, how Reginald Lewis created a $1 billion business empire. He did it on borrowed money. Now, that took some doing.
Well, let's talk about that, because as you talked about this $1 billion corporation being created by genius, I was thinking that a lot of folks in the audience would like to have that genius, at least know what that secret is. So could you just take your time and tell us about how this went about? How did he do these building blocks?
Okay. We had a very comfortable life for 15 years. He was working as a corporate lawyer, and excellently a very good lawyer. But he knew that as an African American, there is somehow a glass ceiling. There's only so far you can go. So if he truly wants to disprove the lie that a person of color cannot go to the very top of financial world, he's got to go on the other line, be an investor, be an entrepreneur, go into leverage buyout.
Could you tell the audience what a leverage buyout is? Because a lot of people in general...
A leverage buyout simply means that you're buying something which has value, not with your own money, but using other people's money. And you use that asset that you have just bought to pay the debt. That's leverage buyout in very, very simple terms.
But yours happen to work out very well, but some haven't worked out so well in that the product that they've bought didn't produce the income to pay the debt, which leads to a bankruptcy.
But that is the genius that Mr. Lewis had. What he did was he borrowed $1 billion, but before, I'm not saying he borrowed, he bought, he had a contract to buy a $1 billion company made up of 61 companies in 31 countries, all over the world except the United States. Before he even closed the $1 billion deal, he started selling those that he did not want, and he kept core businesses in Europe. So he signed a contract in August, he sold in December 1, and during that time, he sold Australia, he sold Canada, he sold China, he sold Singapore, he sold South America. So by the time the closing came, he did not have to borrow $1 billion, he only borrowed half that amount. So that's one part of his genius, to be able to do that. Secondly, $500 million is still a lot of money. So what do? Pay down debt. The other leverage buyout that did not make good maintained that very, very heavy debt. And even if you have you have bought a house, you have a mortgage. If you lose a job, your mortgage, your house is in danger. So pay down that debt, and that's what Mr. Lewis did.
You pay down the debt from the profits that the company was making.
From the profits, yes, or selling again a little more. He sold a hypermarket in Alsace-Lorraine that practically paid off one very heavy debt where he was paying 18% interest. So that saved the company. Unfortunately, by the time he died, he has not quite finished the leverage buyout system. So last year, the company did a $175 million permanent capital debt. It's a debt offering, a note offering, and that was the last part of the LBO. We are now set for the next 10 years with a $175 million bond.
Now, you're a little modest about your participation, your contribution. You yourself are a lawyer of some note, specializing in immigration law and other parts of business law. And since Reggie's unfortunate death, you've taken over the company and have really carried out some of these things you talked about eliminating the debt and keeping the company moving. What is your secret? How do you do this?
Well, I think, for all of us, we develop habits in our life. Okay, so in my own, I have developed the habit very much of listening. I've learned a lot from Reg Lewis. He was the best tutor I had in our 24 years of marriage. So, and I think also our training as a lawyer. So you look at facts. There is a problem. What are the facts? Get the facts. And then, what are the solutions? Listen, because people around you know somehow there is a solution. And that's what I do. I listen, and in the final analysis, I go with my gut. So what is the secret of the success? Setting goals. Our earnings were down. Our expenses was up. You've got to cut costs. So where can we cut costs? And that is the most difficult part of the transition when I came over, to make the decision that I was going to ask people to leave because we couldn't do otherwise. And I did. I tried to do it with, with justice, but I had to ask people to go.
Well, as the title of the book says, could you pass that to me? Yeah.
Yes.
The title of the book is Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? How Reginald Lewis created a billion-dollar business empire. You particularly forthright about the fact that Reggie felt that as an African-American, he had to work a lot harder in order to be successful, and he had to, in a sense, outthink folks. Now, as you know, Reggie and I were friends as well, and I've heard him on some occasions talk about the fact that he was working on these deals and he thought they were going to fall through at the last minute, and then all of a sudden something clicked and he was able to make the deal go. What do you attribute that genius of Reginald to?
Okay, his tenacity of purpose. He would not let anybody or anything say, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. And Beatrice is his fourth deal. When he decided to be an entrepreneur, he tried to buy first Park Sausages in Baltimore. Okay, he had the money, they didn't go with him, so that was a failure. The next deal he wanted to put together were a group of radio station in the Caribbean. He was getting the money together, and then the owner sold it to somebody else, so another failure. The third one was a leisure company in California. He was able, after working for 6-8 months, to get the owner to sign a contract to sell it to him after, so much work. But at the end of 18 months, on the day of closing, the owner of the furniture company refused the deal. He broke the deal. And, as they were exchanging hard words at each other, you could see that deal crumbling down, going down the drain. So third failure. He wrote in this book, chapter 7, that he felt the walls closing down on him, almost close to a nervous breakdown. But did he stop? No. He stepped back, looked at the wrong things that he did. He didn't start pointing finger at anybody. He didn't whine. Look at what he did. What wrong? What did I do wrong? Found out what he could do right, and then went back there again and got McCall. That's the beginning of his career as a leverage buyout.
My friend Tuskegee Airman Lee Archer, who's been on the show talking about his experiences, worked very closely with Reggie on some of these deals. And he would tell me just how tenacious Reggie was in reaching out to try to develop these deals. And I think from the McCall deal, then that led to develop the capital to begin to do some of the other things that he did with Beatrice.
That is true. Lee Archer has been a tremendous mentor to my husband and will always be grateful to him. But this leverage buyout, the secret here is using other people's money. Yes, we did. He was able to maximize McCall from an investment of $1 million, all borrowed money, by the way, to selling it at a 90-to-1 return. And back to back came Beatrice.
Well, as you talk about this very easily, about the $1 billion to $90 million, and it's all borrowed money, what do you say to an entrepreneur, young or old, who says, look, I want to borrow $1 million to start or to develop a given business?
Okay.
The way you describe it, because you have such confidence, is that you just snap your fingers and you get it. Now, give us some of the tricks of the trade. How do you go about doing this?
Okay, let me give you what happened to Mr. Lewis. It was not something like he snapped his finger. He had a bank, Morgan Bank, as he was a lawyer. He started there in 1972, practicing as a lawyer, and always telling them what are his plans. And the Morgan Bank, saw his growth. For 15 years, he was working as a lawyer, and they saw how he was able to reach everything that he says he was going to do. His business plan, the next year, this will be this. And he kept close touch with the banker. Now, on the McCall deal, he needed $1 million cash. 500 of that, he borrowed from Equitable Bank. The other 500, he had to put up on his own. He was making a good living. I was making modest living as an immigration attorney, but you don't accumulate $500,000 as a professional, as everyone knows. So he went to Bankers Trust and said, I need $500,000 for this McCall deal, and this is my plan. To their credit, Bob Winters listened, and the other associates at Morgan Bank listened very well and said, look, Reg, we have seen how you have grown. We have seen your integrity. We have seen how you can achieve everything that you say you're going to do through the 15 years that we have known you. We'll lend you $500,000. Of course, Red said, I'll pay it in 30 days. We believe you too. So here's a check. No collateral, just your character. And that's how he got it. So to the young businessmen out there, if you are true to your word, if you always achieve what you're saying you're going to achieve, you are very focused, you don't let anything distract you, you save your money, then people will take note. Aha, he is a person who is honest, who has integrity, who has focus, and will always fulfill what he said he's gonna do. Then people will give you money because they know they can trust you. But if you start, may I borrow $100? Oh, I forgot to pay you. Nobody will lend you money. So in the final analysis, honesty is the best policy. Have integrity in yourself.
Well, when you do some of these deals, you actually do sell stock somewhere along the way. In selling stock, what are the risks that you have when you sell stock? Because you get stockholders and they expect a return. And the price of the stock, of course, is dependent upon how people value the company. What is the secret of selling stock to carry out these deals?
Okay. Mr. Lewis did not go to the public. He went to Drexel Burnham, Mike Milken, and said, here is the plan I have. I'm going to bid $1 billion. That's chapter 8, by the way, in Why Should What Guys Have All the Fun? I'm going to bid $1 billion with Kravis, KK&R, the buyout firm. They're auctioning the international portion of Beatrice. And Mike Milken, to his credit, said, we will back you. Okay? So Mike Milken, in his turn, and I guess, sold it to his associates or people who know him because he was making a lot of money for other people. So Mr. Lewis shareholders are all institutional. There are a few who bought, some of his key employees, but basically the shareholders now of TLC Beatrice are, of course, Mr. Lewis' family and institutional shareholders. Now, how do you get money from the public? Eventually, if the company, I'm not talking only about Beatrice, TLC Beatrice, but other companies, if you continue to produce earnings, if you continue to show that your business is growing, then the public may want to put in their money and bet on you. And that's when you say, we're going public.
Well, as you have mentioned a couple of times, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8, this was put down by Reggie just before his death, and with the assistance of an editor, he was able to develop this book, which is now all over the country, and I understand that you're on a book tour to promote Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?
Yes, the paperback edition is now out. Also an audio cassette. An audio cassette is also out. And I do want people to read about his life because I believe that they will be inspired by it. A person from very humble beginnings in tough neighborhood in Baltimore, inner city. His family separated, mother and father separated when he was 5. He lived with his grandparents in a house where he remembers you had to go outside the house for the toilet. Okay, so very modest beginning. And yet, he was able to go to the very top. So it is a book of inspiration, and that's why I'm saying I'd like you to read it because you will be inspired by him.
Yeah, I have read the book, and I know a lot about Reggie before, even having played tennis with him on occasion. But I do know that he likes to win. He talks in the book about his athletic experience. He was the captain of the football team and so on. He likes to win. And I can see, even with your smile, that when you get into talking about business, you like to win too.
Well, you know, we are winners. That's what I want also to tell everyone who's listening. You are winners. Nobody should tell you that you cannot do anything because within yourself, if you are able to see what are your capabilities and you look at the problem, there is always solution. There should be no words in your mouth, oh, I can't do it. No. We are winners, and you claim that victory that is ours.
Well, that's a beautiful statement. That's like a locker room pep talk before the Super Bowl. But let's talk about the other parts of the real world where racism and sexism cause you not to be successful. You talked about the 3 or 4 failures that Reggie experienced in developing his business. What is your advice in terms of how do you deal with setbacks? Because there are setbacks in every business. There are setbacks in sports. There are setbacks in entertainment. There are setbacks in your own life when you want to buy a house and you can't come up with the money. What's your philosophy about dealing with that?
Okay. Mr. Lewis, as you well know, and any person of color would know, has also been treated not in the right way. Okay, so he is as much suffers from the discrimination and the bigotry that is in America. But for us, people of color, women, we should never allow anybody to tell us, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this. Because then we ourselves put limit on ourselves. And Mr. Lewis has never done that, and neither do I, and hopefully neither will our children. So that is the secret. First, believe in yourself. You can do it. Secondly, cut your problem into small pieces. Don't say, oh my God, that's so big. Yes, I was daunted by TLC Beatrice. It's a huge conglomerate, but the problems can be solved little by little, one step at a time. And that's Mr. Lewis' philosophy too. Don't run, take things one step at a time.
But the one thing that's behind all of this is that all of you had wonderful educations. You had a wonderful education in the Philippines, and Reggie had a wonderful education at Morgan State and Harvard, and your children are having a wonderful education. So how do you then fit into this equation the will and the education? How does that work?
Okay. Well, for both of us, Mr. Lewis and I, we have a wonderful family behind us. His family, his mother, his grandparents, the Cooper family. On my part, my mother and father were always supportive. So for parents out there, if you did not have a supportive family in your life, then at least give it to your children. Support them. No bad words, oh, you're stupid, oh, you cannot do it. None of that. Just support them, lift them up. That's the first one, our family. And then also within ourselves, okay? I'm very supportive to my husband, as you can see, and I always believed in him. And as a woman, I can tell the women out there listening on this station, believed in your man. Sometimes when he is doubting, you might even doubt, fake it, okay? Just support it. tell him, you can do it, go out there, don't worry, I'll take care of home. Therefore, on my part, I saw to it that when he came home, he has an oasis, he is refreshed, that he doesn't have to worry about me or the children, so that he can go out there and fight.
But tell us about, that's really, those are great words, but tell us about what's happening today in TLC Beatrice International. What are your plans? What are your products? How are you going to develop them?
Okay. Right now, I have the company where I wanted it. We got rid of all the underachievers. So now, I have the potato chips in Ireland, Tato. We have the ice cream in Spain, El Menorquina. We have the Calice, another ice cream company in Canary Islands. We have the supermarket in Paris, Franprix. And we have discount supermarket all over France. It's called Leader Price. And we have bottling companies in Holland, in Belgium, and in Thailand. Now we are poised for growth. The most exciting thing in this group of businesses is the discount supermarket, Leader Price, because we are selling quality food at 30 to 40% less. And we're selling it in a nice setting. It's like you buy Leader Price crackers. You eat it, tastes like Nabisco, but doesn't cost like Nabisco. It's 30% less.
You're also a good salesperson, too. You see, you just like, do you give the pep talk to the sales force as well?
Well, also another function, another beauty of the companies that I am running, and it is Mr. Lewis' genius, all of these companies are run by very, very good managers who are also part owners. They have an ownership in the business that they are running. So, you know, it makes our job easy in the sense that they are self-motivators. If they make money, we make money. So, yeah.
Oh, you're successful, very successful. And I know a number of times successful business say, look, I've been very successful over here. Now I'm going to go into movie business, or I'm going to go into clothing business, or I'm going to go into steel business. Do you have any plans to diversify into any other kinds of businesses?
Nope. If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
That's a very good adage.
Well, I am doing food business. The managers are doing well. Stick to it. Do what we do best, and you know,
Okay,
we'll succeed.
Take one step forward. Food business. Would you go into the frozen business? Frozen
We
food.
do have from frozen food in the supermarket business. So you know, it's all in that genre.
Yeah, we have done, one of our shows was with Sylvia's Restaurant up in Harlem. And Van Woods and his mother, Sylvia Woods, have developed a series of canned foods that they're going to sell with Sylvia's. I would think that in your particular business, you probably have a lot of other products that you could can or box or whatever and sell them to other parts of the world. For example, Africa is an emerging market, and various parts of Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, emerging markets. Have you done any thought about developing ethnically oriented foods for those particular markets? Or am I giving you ideas today?
No, those are excellent ideas, and I do wish Sylvia's Restaurant, his son Van, to promote it, because that's all it needs. They have excellent quality. I've eaten at Sylvia's Restaurant and my husband loves it, but it's the promotion, okay? On our part, the supermarket, we do not produce the food. We buy them from the likes of Sylvia's Restaurant. Our ice cream are exported in Europe to around 7 countries. Our potato chips, we are thinking of exporting it, but right now it has a very short shelf life. So we are changing the packaging so that instead of being able to stay on the shelf for 4 weeks, we can extend it to 12 weeks. So we are in the process of thinking along those lines.
Are you going to ever bring your products to America, or is that too competitive with Beatrice of America?
Well, yes, America is another market. We are not ready for prime time yet, but eventually we'll get there.
Believe me, Loida, you're in prime time right now.
Thank you.
In terms of advice to young people, and not so young people, who really want to develop their careers, whether it be in law or whether it be in business or entertainment. You talked about hard work and purpose. What are some other suggestions you might give to young people?
Okay, I'll give you what I told the A. Philip Randolph School, 3 secrets of success of Mr. Lewis and myself. Set your goal, G. have a moral order within yourself. Do good, avoid evil. Order. Be determined, D. And you spell that G-O-D, God. With God, everything is possible. With God, nothing is impossible.
But God needs a little help sometime. How do you do
God's
that?
work must truly be our own. I mean, you don't say, Lord, give me $1 million and sit on your behind. No, 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 no. God's work is our own. But you hold on to Him, and He'll get you there.
I noticed you said you spoke at A. Philip Randolph High School,
Yes.
which is a very fine high school in New York City for young people trying to develop careers, primarily minority young people. Do you do much speaking at other schools, colleges, etc.? I know already just listening to you, you're very motivating and captivating speakers. Do you do this in other
Yes,
venues?
I make it a point as I go around promoting Mr. Lewis' book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? I said, every city that we go to, I'd like to talk to a school in inner city to tell them about Reg Lewis. He was a very private man, so not too many people, Americans, African Americans, know about him. So I consider it my own personal mission to tell them that there is hope.
Well, clearly there's hope. I mean, you've shown it the way you've taken up Reggie's mantle when he passed away and have developed the country and gotten rid of the debt and all those kind of things. What are your immediate plans other than promoting this book?
Well, for the company, it is to meet our plan. We have a very ambitious goal for 1996. You know, I follow my own mantra. We have set a goal. Okay, moral order, meaning to say I try to be just with people. And we have, the board of directors have just met. Lee Archer is one of my members of the board. And we have decided to give away 5% of the company to our key employees. Their interest should be tied with ours. They work for the company. They should have equity in the company. So those are the kind of things that I try to do.
That's really wonderful. And I also know that you and your foundation are very generous in terms of social and educational causes. Reggie's given money, and you've given money to Morgan and to Harvard and to Howard and the like. I wish we had more time to talk with you because you have me motivated as well, and I'm sure you've motivated the audience. We've been talking to Loida Nicholas Lewis, who's the chairman and CEO of TLC Beatrice, and we've been talking about the book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, the story of Reginald Lewis and this acquisition of $1 billion corporation. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Roscoe. I enjoyed it.